problem is that you're not necessarily inviting anybody into your house to scrutinize your house, is kind of the feeling, right? So here we are in this situation where we know that it's not great, right? I mean, 75% or whatever. And I'm pretty sure that's what it would be if you got everybody that's connected. It's going to be a large number that the VA is not efficient. And what government agency is, first of all, right? So you're going to have high numbers of I think people saying that it's not efficient. Now, the problem is that when we have a large portion, and for some people, it is the biggest portion of their household income is coming from VA disability compensation. And one, they may have felt guilty filing for it to begin with because they feel like it's some sort of a weird handout, right? And so there's all these kind of weird feelings about how, do I really even deserve this? You know what I mean? That kind of surround that. And I think that that's the elephant, right, in the room is you have a lot of people that are very grateful for what they have, kind of feel like they maybe don't even really deserve it. And, thank goodness it's there. I mean, I don't know, I probably would have had migraines anyway. I mean, I might have had a bad back who knows what would have happened, right? But that's not the way the rules work. And we followed the rules and we got the service connection and all that stuff. And so now when you have any entity outside of the VA looking at it, it's unnerving and it's stressful, and you worry about, what kind of repercussions could happen, right? Now, personally, I don't think that benefits, compensation, or anything like that is on the line, so to speak. I think that the way that the VA has been addressing that would be from the medical advancements, we'll call it, and the adjustments of the rating schedule over the past decade, right? So there's been so many rating schedules, probably, I don't know, maybe 8 or so, that have been updated. And for the most part, not for the better for the veteran, actually, the contrary, it makes it more difficult. And we're seeing that happening here in the future as well. So I think that the compensation aspect is being addressed in that fashion of adjustments to the rating schedule. The sole employee from Doge, I doubt that they're a lawyer, and I doubt that they're a doctor. So that's the two people you would need to look at benefits and really decide whether or not somebody individually is due or not due, right? You would need a doctor to figure it out, and you would need a lawyer to figure it out because of the way that VA benefits work. Remember that all the benefits that you have are essentially legally binding. I mean, you could have pushed through to a judge. A judge ruled in your order at the BVA. Essentially, knowing that it can go to that extreme of having a judge order your benefits for you, back it off a little bit and realize that essentially the VA employees have the authority to also authorize those same benefits. So it's a lot harder than I think people think to just come in and go, well, guess what? All these veterans shouldn't get this. That's not, I don't think that that's going to, I mean, who knows, but I really don't think that that's going to happen. When we look at the VA as a whole, I'm pretty sure that most people of voting age have thought to themselves, it seems like the people in government somehow all get rich somehow. And, whether it's a friend of a friend who's got a contract, or there's some sort of deal that's made and they get some sort of information on some sort of a stock, and whatever it is, right? I am sure that there are some weird scratch your back, I scratch your back. You talked about former employees that own companies that now have contracts with the VA. I'm sure that there's some quirky things out there, right? I mean, I would think in the entire government and in the entire VA, which is huge when you take into everything into consideration. And I would also throw out that there should probably be maybe a little look into all of the grant funding. There's tons tons of money that goes out in grants. Grants sound great, but where do they go? They go to a nonprofit. Then that nonprofit has to then report back on the performance that they did, their achievements with that specific grant funding. So are they all up to par, or is the employees of the nonprofit pocketing 80% of the grant funding and using 20% to service veterans, right? So when it should be the other way around. There's going to be looking into that type of stuff as well. And I'll tell you, Clay, like any gigantic organization, when you're talking about the magnitude of dollars in, dollars out on spreadsheets, right? Let's quick reminder, Clay. There was what, $16 billion shortfall was the alarm that was going off. I think it was about 8 months ago or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fall of last year, $16 billion with a B. Do you think that they're really paying attention to the $1 million contract over here for toothpicks, and the $3 million contract over here for napkins, when the reality is that maybe those two contracts are grossly overpriced, we'll say, and really you could have gotten your toothpicks for $200,000, and really you could have got your napkins for $800,000. So you just lost out on millions of dollars because of that. Now imagine for a second if you multiply that times X, and then you were able to repurpose that for something really good for veterans, right? So I mean, I'm hopeful, but also nervous at the same time, like everybody else, because you just don't know, right? You invited a stranger in to completely assess your house, how you are as a parent, or whatever, right? And all of a sudden they're in there and you can't get them out, and you're going, oh my God, are these people going to think the same way that I think, or not? And what's going to happen at the end of the day? I'm hopeful that there's no real damage, and I hope that it is there's some good that comes out of this, but it is nerve-wracking and it is stressful. So we'll keep our eyes on it, though, and if anything starts to turn sideways that we hear of, and believe me, there's plenty of employees in VA that would say something somewhere, somehow, even if it's anonymous. So we'll pick up on it from there. All right, back to you, Clay.
Yeah, it makes me think, and I'm going to use a VA OIG, which I love, by the way, in reference to the single Doge employee. And we go back to the critical skill incentive bonuses. That was a huge scandal last year. We did videos on it. Every news outlet that's in the VA did articles on it, and it was a big deal. The only reason that we know about that is because the VA OIG was looking for it, okay? And so now I would use that analogy for what we see now. We have this Doge representative, okay, who is looking at it and seeing if, hey, are we paying $2 million for napkins? Which sounds crazy, okay? But how many government contracts are taken advantage of? Okay, and listen, I've been in the federal government my entire adult life, from the day I left high school to right now. Tomorrow, I'm going right back to work as a federal employee, okay? If you don't think there's fraud, waste, and abuse within the federal government, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, right? I'm sure that's got a lot of sugar in it. But I'm glad you brought that up, especially looking at the VA OIG report. And there's two things I want to hit on too. One, the VA OIG I think they either convicted or arrested 2 people within the VA healthcare system. I don't know if they were contractors or VHA employees. I haven't read the report yet, but they somehow swindled $1.2 billion out of taxpayer money. I think this was out of Arizona. It just dropped like a week and a half ago. I was on vacation last week. I haven't read it. But the only reason that came to light is because the OIG is looking for it. And that's what I want to see happen with this Doge representative. Again, I'm saying that loosely. If you clean a room, you'll find out it's dirty. If you never clean it, but it looks clean, then the room's clean to you, right? And so it's just your reality. The second thing is, and you almost went down the conspiracy road there. I was so happy for you. I was like, do it, right? When it comes to receiving information on how you're going to buy stocks or whatever we see in the government, right? And that's such a rabbit hole. I don't want to bring that up, but a video, and put this on the notes for next week, Jason. The tax form, I think it's called a 990 for nonprofits, just came out for the American Legion, and it's pretty alarming how a national level VSO is spending millions of dollars not going towards veterans. That is a rabbit hole I definitely want to get into next week. So just keep that up there. But yeah, that's going to be a big one, right? And that's just the American Legion. Now, obviously, the American Legion and VA are two separate entities, but it just goes to show that when money's involved, I don't care who you are, whether it's a critical and skill incentive, you're a doctor out of Arizona, you're a contractor, you'll see moral decision-making, and morals are whatever it is you make it, right? Kind of be twisted in a fashion that's probably not favorable. And I'm hoping this Doge representative gets at that. And just to be very clear for everyone, before we switch topics, VA disability payments are good. It's not like Trump can just be like, hey, you know what? Executive order, no more payments. Doesn't work like that at all. I love how you brought up the lawyer and the doctor piece there, because then that does tell us we're specifically looking at efficiency, contracts, and if I did pray about this, it would be CMP exam contracts for me personally, just so I can be like, I told you so. Anyways, do you have any more thoughts on that, Jason?
No,